All right, good afternoon, everybody. It's Steve. Well, as part of our Sunday evening blog, our Vcarve tutorial this week is Vcarve Pro Designing Arch Trim. As we did in the introduction here a little bit ago, my buddy did some demo work. I haven't taken still the exact measurements, but we've got the block measurements, so we're going to run with it, okay? Well, basically, what we've got here is we've got a layout for a basic formula. We know that this is a true circular arch, and by very definition, a circular arch is a true symmetrical half circle where the height is half the width of the arch. Well, this was just a quaint little formula that I had found online. We have our width, our height, and exactly our height is half of the overall width, giving us a true circular arch. Okay. Well, what we've also done, and you've got to please forgive the drawings, okay? We've included, I've marked these up. This is kind of awful, I know, but this is a big window. To the best of my understanding, it is, to me, it's a glorified bay window. It was a square bay. It's got a fixed 2-foot center light with two sliders on each side that are of equal. They're, I believe, 2 feet as well. The center doesn't move, but the two sides can roll in, and then they mullioned a perfectly circular arch on the top of it. Okay. Well, this particular gentleman is looking to trim this out with a shaker style trim. So let's pull up a picture of that. Okay, this is your shaker style trim, and what I love about the what I like about the shakers is just quite simply this. They didn't believe in fancy, but simple and functional. Now, this man's whole house is pretty much tongue and groove knotty pine, with the exception of this one gable end that's drywall. So, excuse me, we're just going to do a arch, as we told you, on MDF, and he's going to basically trim it out. However, again, in my machine, I'm not big enough to take and do this in one piece because the size of it, again, is 72 inches wide. My machine maxes out at 50, 50.249, okay? So let's knock this out, and let's also knock out our little formula here. Alrighty. Well, I'm going to bring up another picture real quick. This is what would be considered an elliptical arch, okay, where the height is not half the width. Obviously, this is a massive bay entry window surrounded with elliptical arches that are broken up in segments. Okay, there are, oh goodness, there's 6 basic types, but elliptical and circular are probably the 2 most commons. Okay, well, without further ado, let's bring up our CAD file now. For the sake of this example, I've already marked this up a little bit. As we can see, we've got 72 inches wide. We've got 72 inches high. Now, I'm going to show you 2 ways to pretty much figure this. And what I'm doing here is I'm basically building a schematic itself of the arch-styled window. And from there, we'll trim it out, all right? Well, because it is perfectly circular, what we could do, is we could go in and we could basically draw a circle, okay? And we could take that circle and we could go 72.0 inches, and we can click apply. Now, let's close this window out. Let's get this item. We'll hit our transform objects. We need to align it in the center. Great. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to come over to node editing, and I'm going to take, and we're going to right click, and we're going to delete the point. Then we're going to right click, and we're going to delete the span. What we're left with is we are literally left with half of the arch. Pretty simple. I told you guys this was not going to be a big deal. Oh, let's highlight him, and then let's roll him down in. Because basically what I'm looking to do here is align him one last time. All I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the whole shooting match. I'm going to come down to Join Open Vectors, and then I'm going to click Join. We've now created that whole archway. And I know that from the top, I ended up putting a guideline in here exactly at 72 inches where my where my arrow went. You see the guideline going across, so that I know from here to the top of my arch is 36 inches, therefore creating a perfectly circular arch. All right, well, let's set him aside for a moment. Actually, we need to go back. All right, let's just set him aside for 1 second. The other thing you can do is we can come up to draw an arc. Now we're going to use the 3-point method, and we're going to come down, and I am going to drop it as close to dead center here as possible. All right, I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to zoom back in. Now I'm going to try to land this just as smack dab close on the top of this as I can. All right, now with that done, what we're going to do, and if you watch over to the left hand side of the screen, you see start point, end point. Okay, set radius. Oh, we don't want the radius upside down though, that's for sure. Now we want to work him until, all right, I have him at 35.9995. I'd have to say that's pretty good for 36 inches. All right, we're going to click right there. Now, let's pretend for a minute that this was not a perfectly circular arch. This is the second way of doing this. Let's say for 1 minute, we're going to close this. We're going to take this arch. We're going to hit delete, okay? We're going to take the arch tool again, draw an arc, rather, I'm sorry. We're going to stick to the 3 points functionality here, and we're going to come down, we're going to drop him in again. Now let's say you're doing an elliptical. Alright, now with the elliptical, this is where this tool comes in handy. Now I'm going to try not to confuse anybody too bad. Depending on what your height is, pay attention to your set height right here. We're going to say for the fact that it's an elliptical arch, and it's a light arch. It's not real high. So let's say that it's 12 inches. Well, before you sit here and pull your hair out trying to get it just right, come down, highlight the box. Well, better yet, we'll say that it's 15. All right. We click apply. Everything is readjusted. You would find the maximum center height on your elliptical. Enter your dimensional in here using the 3-point configuration on the Create Arc tool, and kapow. Get it as close as you can, but then come down here and set your exact height, okay? This tool is really handy for doing this sort of stuff, all right? I can't stress that enough. But now that we know how to do this, what we're going to do is we're just going to back out of some of this, and let me get rid of some of this, and let me get the rest of this in here. All right. What we're going to do is I'm going to reattach this real quick, and then we'll go and we'll start doing the trim, okay? All right, everybody hang on just 1 second, and I'll be right with you. All right, everybody, I was going to make you sit while I reattach the radius on top of the box and blah, 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 okay? Next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring up our calculator. Now, there's also a reason for me putting this guideline in, because this guideline is exactly where the radius ends and the box begins, okay? What we're going to do, oh, where'd my calculator go? Here we go. To trim him out, I basically need to know a couple things. I know that there's going to be a little bit of an offset on the window. This gentleman is not going to be, and actually let me also pull up the picture, if I could, of the shaker style window again. Alright, we see with the window, with this shaker style, and it might be hard in the video to see, the jamb that's on the inside, if we offset the trim a little bit, it gives a little reveal, okay? That's what we're looking to do here. Now, this is why we need the calculator. Alright, well, with our trusty handy-dandy calculator here, what we're going to do is we're going to take the width of our project, which we know is 72 inches. Alright, so we're going to take the width of that window, 72.0 inches. Now, what I'm going to do is we're going to put a reveal on the outer edge of those two side jambs, well, all the way around the window. We're going to give it 5/16. So what we're going to do is we need to add that to each side. Well, 5/16 is an additional .312 plus 0.312 should equal 72,624. Okie dokie. So let's take, and with this item highlighted now, oh, there we go. We're going to right click, we're going to copy, we're going to right click, and we're going to paste this. Excuse me. Now pull up your transform object box, set selected object size. Now, this is why I keep a calculator handy, because I never remember this. 72.624. Make sure your link X and Y is unchecked. Okay, we're going to go 72.624. And we're going to do the same thing down here. 624. We're going to add a 5/16 inch reveal all the way around the window. Alrighty. We're going to click apply. Now I know you can't see it all that well, but there will be a nice light reveal on that trim. Now, let's take and bring up Mr. Calculator again. Our client's going to be using 1x4, or the equivalent to a 3.5 inch wide piece. Well, that 3.5 and 3.5 is 7. So let's go plus 7 point equals 79.624. So we're going to come back over here. We can highlight, we'll highlight another one again. Let's zoom out. Again, we're going to right click, copy, right click, paste. Now, transform objects again. Oh, and I can't remember squat, so you have to bear with me. 79.624. Okay, so we are 79.624. And over here we will end up being, we're 115.624. We click apply. Now we basically have a perfect arch constructed. Now what we need to do is, I told you in the shout out that the client, or I'll end up ripping everything down. Our bottom and our sides can be done on a table saw. Alrighty, now that we have our frame built, our trim work all figured, everything with our handy dandy calculator, we can take and we can shut him out. We don't need him open. What we're going to do is we're now going to do the breakpoints, because I told you I don't have a big enough machine. Now this would be ideal to break this up and do this arch on a piece of 48 by 96. All right. And again, we're not interested in this first interior line at all. I basically built the model of the actual window itself, and from there I built off of that. So if you want to save yourself any confusion, you can highlight this line, right click, and delete it. Okay, this is your actual trim right here. Okay, now the other thing that we did was we left this guideline in, because this is where the top of our sides come up. I built a box, and it ends and our arch begins. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go in here, we're going to zoom right in, and I am going to click on Edit Objects, Node Editing. I'm going to highlight this one, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come right down to the guideline right here, and I'm going to right click, insert a point. I'm going to scroll over. Let me minimize. Let me minimize some more, my goodness. Alright, I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to do the exact same thing again. Alright, now with both of our points inserted, we're going to do this for both sides, alrighty? Alright, now, we have literally got all our points in through node editing. Again, edit objects, node editing function. We can see the black dot. What we're going to do is we're going to delete everything below the arch. We don't need it because we told you we can do this on top of the table saw. So we're going to right click. We're going to delete span. We're going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to delete span. We're going to come over here. Same thing again. Right click, delete span. Right click, delete span. Now everything below here is now gone. We built the base. We did our offsets with the calculator. Arch is done. Sides will get ripped. Sides and bottom will get ripped on the table saw. We'll come over to selection mode real quick. Let's get rid of all the garbage. Just hit delete. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're also going to come up to the top. Now this is 72 inches wide. I cannot fit this on my machine, alrighty? So what we're going to do is virtually this. We're going to come back into node editing and our edit objects. We're going to zoom in. Now right dead center, we've got a node, and right dead center, we've got another node. I am going to take, and what we're going to do is we're going to come in, and let's come over to edit objects again, to our node editing icon. Let's come in. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to delete the span on the right hand side. Let's delete span. Same thing here. From our center node, right or left, it isn't going to matter. Right click, delete span. Okay, now what we've got left, let me go back to edit object selection mode. I want to know what this area size is right here. So I'm going to go up just for mere reference, and I'm going to draw a box and get the measurements from it to try to calculate our material. Alright, we're 47.8 by 44. Okay, we're going to call it 48. Now, as I told you, we already know that this will not work, nor will it fit on my table. I am 50 by 50.249 by a little under 38 inches off the top of my head, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this box, and I'm going to come in and I am going to reset the job dimension. We're just going to call it 48 point by 48 point. Let's click apply, or click OK. Alright, we'll come back into our same selection mode. Let's highlight our box, highlight our arch rather, pull it in, pull it into dead center, and there we go. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom in here, and we can also right click. We can get rid of this delete guide. We don't need all this clutter. I'm going to take and I am going to connect all my open ends with a straight line. Now the bottom that you didn't see just connected, now the upper just connected. Great. We have now got our arch made. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to end up, we'll go file, and we'll just save him as, well, we'll save him as arch. Okay, save. Alrighty. Now what I am going to do is I'm going to break open a fresh copy, and we're going to set the size to what I know my machine can do. Okay, I am 50.249. I'm not worried about the 1/4 of an inch, and I know that I can go at least 37.5. It is going to be on a piece of 0.750 because we're using MDF, if you recall. We click OK. Now what I'm going to do is, because we saved it, I'm going to import the arch. Click open. Now what we're going to do is we're going to have to rotate him. And this is going to be interesting, because we're going to end up having a big pile of scrap left. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my toolpath box over here. I'm going to highlight him, and I'm going to go to Profile Toolpath. All we need to do is cut him out. So my cut depth will be 0.760. We're going to select. We're going to use a 1/4 inch end mill. We'll use our feeds and speeds chart that we showed you in the scaling last week. This is about right. It's MDF. I could go a little faster, but I want to have a nice clean arch on this, so we'll keep it at the 80. Click OK. Oh, one last thing. I want to check my plunge rate. Because I want them clean, I'm going to go no more than an 1/8 of an inch. I could go a 1/4, but I want to make sure that I take out just a little bit. I want a nice clean arch from my buddy here, who coincidentally is my client, okay? Now, we'll profile, we'll just call it arch cutout. We need to go outside. We don't need any offsets. We do, however, need to add some tabs. We're going to edit our tabs, and we'll call it 10. We'll put 10 in. Get them off the corners though, and keep them in the middle. It'll just save you a bunch of aggravation. All right, we can close this box out. Then what we can do is we can come in here and we can double check everything. Everything looks good. We'll be touching off of our top, our Z0 off the top of our machine. I told you that I always do everything from the center of the datum in our job setup. Thickness is in, datum. All right, and we're going to basically calculate our toolpaths. Oh goodness, helps if I select them first. All right, and we could calculate. Yes, we know that it's going to go 10 thousandths deeper than the material. All right, now let me pull up the MDF, and toolpath color, we'll obviously set it in black, and we'll just preview all toolpaths. And what you can see is the nodes for the tab. Now what we can do is you can do this the exact same way and flip it, or you could take this, you can highlight it. Now you're going to basically need two pieces of material, 48.96, or in this case I'm going to cut this at 50. So you may end up having to buy 2 full sheets, but that's okay. The client's paying for it. I would take this one and I would mirror it to the right. I would close it. I would align my objects back to the center. And then I would go in, highlight him again, close him. We've got all the arches, so this would be our right side. The other one would be the left. You could click calculate again. We know what's going to happen. Now with each toolpath, which I did neglect to tell you, okay, my apologies. Before we flip him and rotate him, we would take him up here. We would go File, Save As, Arch, left side, save him, and then basically, let's unclick this, we'll move him over, okay, calculate, and we do the same thing again. Well, we can reset preview. We come over here again, we go Save As, Arch, right side. And that's it, folks. That's pretty much how I would perform this and do this. It's pretty basic. The blog goes deeper into detail with the different type of arches, segmented, cathedral, so on and so forth. There's 6 basics and there's a pile of derivatives off of each, okay? But for the sake of this perfectly circular arch, I hope this helped. I hope you guys got a little something out of it, and as always, if ever you have any questions, please do not hesitate to give us an email or a shout, all right? Again, my followers, my subscribers, thank you very much for all your support, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you more than you will ever know, all right? Stay tuned. We have our midweek shout-out coming up, and I have no idea what's on store for next Sunday's Sunday evening blog, okay? But again, thank you. Have a great weekend, and enjoy the warm weather, everybody. Alrighty. Bye-bye.